When I was a boy, my mother from time to time would leave me and my younger siblings in the back of our family's station wagon while she went in to run various errands. It was great fun to be able to bounce around inside the spacious interior of that vehicle with limited freedom. We'd slip between the front seats and sit up front. We'd torque on the locked steering wheel and imagine being able to reach the pedals. And generally we'd be amazed by all the bells and whistles at our fingertips. Invariably, our attentions would be drawn to the largest control knob up front, that of the car's stereo's volume knob. We would take turns torquing on that thing. We'd spin it all the way to the left and we'd spin it all the way to the right. We'd find its limits in both directions, and generally we'd be agents of chaos. Mom quickly returning, we'd slip to the back seat, the idea being that she'd be none the wiser for our shenanigans. But of course, as soon as she turned on the car, the stereo would give us away as it poured forth a loud, piercing, painful cacophony of noise that paralyzed all the occupants of the vehicle, until Mom, finally able to gather her wits, reached up and spun the dial back to the left. In today's vehicles, you can't do that. If you are sitting next to someone who's old enough, or you are yourself old enough, then you can confirm that this experience used to be a commonly shared experience. But it's not a commonly shared experience anymore. Even though we all still have cars, and those cars all still have big shiny volume knobs on their stereos, it's not something that we see anymore. Why is that? The long-term hearing implications are no doubt a net positive for parents and children alike, but the truth of the matter is more complicated. The fact is that the implications of what have actually changed with our technology are profound beyond just car stereos. Your car is not as simple as it used to be, and you don't have as much control over it as you used to. You can't turn the volume knob all the way to the right anymore because there is no all the way to the right. You may turn the volume knob to the right and the volume's amplitude will increase, but when the volume reaches its maximum point, the knob doesn't stop. It just keeps turning. That volume knob is not an integral electronic component in the system of the car anymore. It's a suggestion box. It's an abstraction. You don't have the control you once had, so who does? There's a silent partner that you're working with in your vehicle today. At once as complicated as it is ubiquitous, as omnipresent as it is ignored, it's your car's computer. The computer serves as an algorithmic interlocutor. It takes your suggestion and it decides what to do. The same kind of negotiation that happens between you, computer, and your volume knob can happen with your steering wheel, or your gas pedal, or your brake pedal. And if you, like me, have been in operation of a vehicle where the algorithm has decided on your behalf to apply a hard braking, you were first probably very grateful. And second, you may have wondered aloud, who's driving this thing anyway? I used to argue in the name of fundamental and basic technology education that comparatively small numbers of developers were in charge of writing the algorithms that drove our lives, quite literally. But increasingly, the smartest algorithms are learning algorithms. They are evolving algorithms. They are algorithms that work in ways that their designers did not directly implement. Our technology keeps getting smarter, and the smarter it gets, the more useful it is to us, and that is not a proposition that seems likely to change anytime soon. The famous computer scientist Alan Turing suggested a game whereby a human interrogator would interview over text two other entities, one of which was a computer and one of which was another human. And he posited that the answer to the question, can a machine think, is the same as the answer to the question, can a lying machine fool the human into believing that it is the other human? I remember the original web, with its static web pages and its same content for all viewers. It was what we came to know as Web 1.0, as opposed to the then brand new Web 2.0. Finally, with Web 2.0, I had the power to control and curate my experience online, using techniques like friends lists and subscriptions and follows. I could decide what I saw when I went online. But the problem is that the net is vast and infinite, and my ability to curate content, to review content, to determine what I wanted to, and more importantly, what I did not want to see, is limited because I am a limited curator. If it were up to me, I would see very little of the internet indeed. So what we did was we created algorithms to do the heavy lifting of this work. Those algorithms show us what we want to see. They are in charge of what we see when we go to the web. They curate our experience for us. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to believe, but you will have to believe me when I say that at the time, we thought that was a fantastic idea. But we made a mistake. We made an assumption. We assumed that our algorithms would remain impartial. Algorithms are not merely tools. They are imbued with purpose by their creators in a way that hammers and screwdrivers cannot be. In order to monetize those algorithms, the owner of those algorithms and systems began to realize that they could have those algorithms answer the needs of advertisers and the owners themselves first before they answered our needs. And we were completely okay with this because it was completely transparent to us. We felt, indeed we still feel, empowered by this system. On the social web today, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are all beset by what they collectively call coordinated inauthentic behavior. This behavior is, at least in part, propagated by weak forms of AI called bots. These bots are created to create and share content and to interact with people online in such a way that they do not necessarily reveal that they are themselves not human. But they don't act in ways that they are just programmed to act. They are learning algorithms. They can review their social analytics and they can reinforce behavior that increases their influence on the social web and decrease behavior that decreases their influence. When they interact with people, they are doing it in a way that their designers had no direct hand potentially in implementing. They can undermine opposing ideas. They can harass and subvert certain users while amplifying the voice of other users. They can influence human users to behave in ways that they might not otherwise have done. And they hassle, harass, and subvert our ability to have open and honest discussion on the social web. They are the face of modern day propaganda. Now, an individual bot, as it portrays a false persona on the web, might be an excellent liar, but none of these bots can yet pass the Turing test because they hide in darkness. They thrive in darkness. We can find them if we shine a light on them. If we know to look for them, they're not too difficult to spot. But what happens if they get smarter, as they seem sure to do? Because Turing was not asking, could any computer of his day pass the Turing test? But could any imaginable computer pass the Turing test? And that is the question we must still be asking ourselves. Turing was not offering an affirmative test of machine intelligence. He was making an argument for the possibility of its arisal, an argument that's proved difficult to refute. What would it mean for a species like us so accustomed to being the only viable metric for intelligent thought on our entire planet if we did create an artificial intelligence as smart as humans? And if we could do that, then would we? Because the march of technological progress is not inevitable, but it also is not accidental. We have invested and we continue to invest in programs to create smarter technology because of the competitive advantage that it provides everywhere. Humans grow tired, humans grow hungry, humans make mistakes, and that's not true at all of computers. What force do we think is going to prevent us from making the next incremental step in machine intelligence, given the advantage, especially over our rivals who fail to make that investment? Are we like technology's arcade patron, standing at the coin-pushing machine, pushing in coins any minute now? And if we can create, imagine we can create that machines that are as smart as us. One of the things that it seems likely that they'll do is they'll create machines as well. They'll certainly be smart enough to do it, and they might do it because, again, it is more valuable than the cost to create machines. But the problem, of course, is that machines that create machines can do it exponentially, whereas humans can never hope to achieve that. And if we reach that exponential machine evolution, then we will reach what computer scientist Werner Vinge calls the singularity. Quote, a point where all our models must be discarded and a new reality will rule. Almost overnight, humanity could wake up to find itself living in a world that it does not control and could not have imagined. If we see an I arise from AI, and we find ourselves moving from primacy to merely primates after all, will we be doomed? I ask you, what use do you have for a colony of ants, intellectually speaking? Not a happy thought. The proliferation of machine intelligences, I have no doubt, is going to be one of humanity's great existential crises in the next century, every bit as threatening as the proliferation of nuclear war was in the last. And I equally have no doubt that the solutions that we can come up with for combating this possible future all must be interdisciplinary. We have to reach across the divide of our academic silos and find solutions between those disciplines, be they engineering or science or humanities. We have historically not asked, but increasingly we must ask, what is our moral obligation to our creations? Can we teach them kinship? Can we teach them morality? Can we show them love, especially in their early stages where that cannot be deserved and will not be reciprocated? Turing's test may have been a measure of machine intelligence, but it was at least as much a measure of human empathy. Can we wrestle now with the implications of what we teach our machines, both implicitly and explicitly, with a mind toward their inevitable coming of age? Unimaginably intelligent machines are coming. We cannot be gods, but perhaps we can be parents. Thank you.